Welcome back to the Space Travelers. We're doing it 6 months after everyone else. Heroics Guide. This is Sol back with Heroic Grim Batol. Did this, me and Zoranthus did this today. Just taking a look at the first important trash pull. I cut out the trogs at the beginning because, well, they're trogs. Who cares about trogs? This trash, ideally, with these 3-packs, you can, as long as your tank and healer have an appropriate amount of gear, you don't have to bother with CC. There's a little bit of group damage. There's a magic ability, I believe it's called Melting Flames, something like that, that needs to be dispelled. Otherwise, it can kill a DPS if it's allowed to tick for its full duration. However, these larger packs, you want to make sure to CC 1 or 2 of the targets. You can see the hunter trapped one of the elementals, and Zoranthus and I both CC'd, or rather the hunter trapped a humanoid mob. Zoranthus and I both CC'd one of the elementals. We became convinced as this run progressed that the DK wasn't aware that the DK that was tanking wasn't aware that we could CC the elementals. Because quite honestly, in these bigger trash packs, the elementals are the most dangerous mobs. They do the most splash damage, they have the most irritating debuffs. You get the idea. So that way, but the idea of at least CCing a couple of mobs there, just so you don't have to worry about taking more than 3 at a time, because they do dish out a lot of group damage. We're just kind of finishing off the Earthshaper here. Then we have another 3-pack of Dragonkin. Should be a similar pull to the first major pull of the instance. We had a really solid group for this. Corrupted Flame, that's the name of the ability. Ideally, you have an interrupter that can just prevent it from being applied, but sometimes things slip through the cracks. This DK tank was really solid. The Holy Priest we had healing was also very good. I had a slight problem with aggro in a few spots, just because my burst damage is kind of getting up there. So this next part, if you do it well, it will make your life easier. If you do it poorly, it's kind of a waste of time. You free these 5 battered red drakes, and then you fly through basically half of the instance using the drakes to weaken as many of the trash packs as possible. The basic idea: you hit one, you get the little green circle. And after you've been in Grim Batol a couple of times, you have a very good feel of the path that you take. And so you'll know which mobs to focus on and not pointlessly try to kill packs that you're not going to try to, or you're not going to bother killing, like I did right there. And so yeah, you go all the way down, you get to take a look at the 3rd boss, Jidoka Shadows Sweepers, Skyther, I don't remember what the hell his last name is, Seeker maybe? Anywho, yeah, then you whip around, and you go back the other way. And the main thing is, again, just to try to focus on the packs that you know you're going to be fighting. Because if all 5 of you are focusing on the same 5 packs, you can save yourself a couple of trash pulls, or severely weaken some of the trash pulls. I edited out most of this trash because in the first 3 pulls, you pretty much see the extent of the trash you're going to fight for the rest of the instance. I think I actually might have left this little row up leading up to the first boss in, so you can kind of get an idea of what to expect after the Drake run. You can see we completely annihilated that first pull with the Drakes. Just leaving that one Crimsonborn Guardian, which we dealt with in rather short order, as he was knocked down to like 40% health. If you can hear Law and Order in the background, I apologize. The TV is kind of loud right now, and not really much else to say about this trash. You can kind of see there on this pack the DK's lack of knowledge about our CC, as Zeranthus and I actually coordinated our crowd control a little bit there. The water guy stayed banished because, well, banish is a better CC than bind elemental, but had it had been two shamans, for example, both using bind elemental, Death and Decay would have broken it immediately. Anyway, now we are at the first boss, General Umbrus. He is actually a fairly involved fight. He has several different abilities you need to be aware of. The first is has to deal with the trogs that we were sniping down on the dragons earlier. It will become relevant in a moment. You can see the tank is going to go ahead and pull him back to the very edge of the platform to give you to give us as much time to DPS down the purple guy, the malignant Trog, as possible, because if the Trog dies anywhere near the tank, he's going to put a debuff on the tank that, well, quite frankly, makes tanking this fight a pain in the ass. See, I, being the patient shaman that I am, actually wait until the tank gets him in position before I start laying into him. Also let him get a decent lead on threat. Ideally, you have if you have like a hunter or a frost mage in the group, you can have them just kite/kill the malignant Trog. So this leads us to the beginning of General Umbrus's abilities. He uses an ability called Blitz. It prefers a ranged target. It'll say, sets his eyes on target and begins to cast Blitz. He then, I think it's like a 5-second cast time, and then he charges at them, and if the ranged person who he targets doesn't get out of the way, they get their faces rocked. I believe it actually will one-shot Clothies. The second of his abilities is called Ground Siege. Basically, what it'll do is it's a frontal cone stun. You can see I get hit by it a couple of times because I'm standing in front of his face, or at his front hind quarter, like you're supposed to with dragons, but, you know. Such it is. Also, it's not a good idea to be in the path of Blitz. I don't think it actually does any damage, but, you know. He does a wounding strike to the tank, which is just an added debuff that the tank has to deal with. Goes into a frenzy at about 25%, increases attack speed, damage done. Your standard soft enrage. And yeah, he doesn't really, I mean, besides the soft enrage, he's consistent the entire fight. And yeah, that's that. that trinket would have been cool if I didn't have better ones. So now we move on to the next trash. This particular group of trash is unique to this little hallway. It's 3 Twilight Beguilers and then the big enslaved Grand Brute. Usually what you want to do is CC 1 or 2 of the Beguilers and then burn down the remaining non-CC'd ones as quickly as possible. Then you switch over to the Grand, kill him, and then kill any CC'd Beguilers. As you can see, we CC'd nothing because I don't think the DK knew that I could hex one either. And the first one's especially tricky, as you're going to see here, because if you don't pull it correctly, you pull the boss. Best advice I can give you on this is if you pull the boss, focus down the Grand first, and then switch your DPS over to the boss. And now that we've done that, I'll talk about Forge Master Throngus. He's a phase switcher. He can switch his weapons, I believe, at will. He can get one of 3 weapons. His mace, which encumbers him, which slows his movement speed and makes him hit like a Mack truck. He also, when he drags it along the ground, creates those lovely, lovely little lava pools. As you can see there, I also pulled aggro, which sucks as a melee DPS. When he switches weapons, he can then also choose a shield and gain personal phalanx, which, as you can see, gives him the fire-breathing dragon shield from Karazhan, only it's Grand-sized. The fire hurts. Don't stand in it. He turns around a couple of times during shield phase. So you just have to be quick on your feet. As melee, just run between his legs. That's the easiest way to get out. And then there's swords. Gains a dual wield. This is actually his easiest phase to deal with. Because he just has standard melee. He doesn't hit any harder, he just hits more. He also will stomp on the ground and create rock showers, none of which you can see because they all seem to pick on the range in this particular attempt. We actually got pretty fortunate that he went to mace straight away, so all you had to deal with then was the impale that he will put on a random target, where he basically impales them on his mace, which also isn't very much fun, but there you are. We got 2 shield phases, which was super helpful, and that tank trinket is super helpful for tanks.